Back on the Corvette tonight, working on the front suspension. This is a Ridetech suspension I'm going to be putting on here. And we've got 88 degrees out in the shop. And I was inundated with comment asking how the Ridetech suspension installation was going. So first, we're going to go over what's already been done because I didn't document that on YouTube because I did that before I had the channel. And then we'll get started. Let's go. You're watching On the Mark with Mark. To start with, you're gonna have to excuse the noise. I'm running my air conditioner that I've got out here in the garage. Unfortunately, as you can see by the walls, there's no insulation in the walls. And there's no insulation in the ceiling, and there's also a ventilated ridge vent up there. I don't know if you can see that. And the eaves are ventilated too, so the heat still can go out up there, but hopefully the cold will stay down here where we are. The air conditioning is just better than nothing. It's 88 degrees and it's 90 degrees outside, but I do think that the air conditioner has knocked some of the humidity out of the air, so it does help somewhat. Now here's where we are. The whole rear suspension is done, and I just love these, the way they cut these triangles out of these trailing arms and put that offset in here so I can get a fatter tire underneath here. And of course the Willwood brakes are great. I did deviate from what Ridetech or Willwood gave me for brake lines for the back. They gave me a flexible line and I just didn't like the way it fit. So I ended up making a solid line and bending it a little bit like what the factory did. Here's some pictures of it. Here's what the brake lines looked like. This one was not part of the kit from Willwood, but I could see that it, was a rubber hose. I wanted to replace it. And I had a heck of a time getting a good fit out of different outfits. I ended up having to order this at least 2 times, maybe 3 times before I got one. This is what, and I don't even remember what company it was I bought it from. I still have this fitting, but that's how they expected that to go on there, which was just unacceptable to me. So I wasn't going to keep that, so I ended up getting a shorter one. Then I went around and I found this bolt that was going to show me how far things would compress during full compression of the suspension, because I wanted to see if anything was going to hit. And the Willwood flexible line did look like it had some interference on it. And it's kind of hard to see, but it was touching the trailing arm, and no matter how I tightened it up, it seemed to always kind of pull itself back over and touch. And I just knew that would start rubbing and eventually get a hole in it. So this flexible line from Willwood I was not happy with. Well, the factory, as everyone knows, did it with a hard line. So I thought, this is a shorter run. I'm going to make myself a line. So this is what my line looked like. And I had to get a 90-degree fitting that was a different type than what Willwood had sent me. You can see the Willwood one at the top, but the one I bought is down below. It's kind of brass. And that went on there. So that gave me a 90 right out of the box there. And then it ran across the top of the trailing arm and made a couple of nice bends and wasn't touching anything. So I ended up very happy with this arrangement here. That's what's on the car right now. And you can see by this bolt, there's plenty of clearance. Nothing's going to get crushed. This is the passenger side. It also has plenty of clearance too. So that's what I did with the brake lines. Underneath now, it's just gorgeous. Have everything painted up underneath here. So I had a lot of time with the blasting cabinet, and we did take the whole differential apart and replaced all the bearings and the seals in there. And there's my new coilovers. So no more leaf spring on this Corvette. So all of this, I still do need to bleed the brakes. That's what's left back here. Also, this diff is dry right now. I probably should put a label on it so there's no lube in it. With the rear end completely finished, now I'm turning my attention to the front, and I have everything apart on it except for I don't have the upper A-arms off. So that's where we're gonna start tonight on it. And here's all the pieces. There's the new shocks there. And here's they're called Strong Arm from Ridetech. Got all my parts right here. And there's the Willwood brakes for the front, and lots of miscellaneous brake parts here. So this will all start going together. So let's tear into it. A-arms need to come off. I'm just gonna have to excuse all the hum. That's the air conditioner and the fan that I'm running just to try to keep cool out here. Just about have this off. It's there we go. What are we hitting here? We're hitting into that shroud. Just kind of hoping that would go out through the wheel well. These are still in real nice shape. Paint is even still good on them from the first rebuild I did of the suspension. That ball joint probably has maybe 5,000 miles on it. So these will be good for resale. No suspension at all in here now. One bolt there. Got a greaser. Greaser. Seems like a 90 would have been better there. Ridetech supplied these really nifty aluminum washers. They're calling them T-washers. And they got a little bit of a boss on the edge that fits. Well, it looks like it's gonna need to be torqued into there. But anyway, covers up the end of that Delron bushing there. Very nice. That's high quality, I like that. Here's the other one. Nicely machined. Okay. And then nuts. And they show an 8 thin lock nut. The drawing shows one of this kind of nuts that's got that nylon locking collar in there. But these are the right size. That's what's going to fit on here. You can just get these finger tight to start with. Boy, that really just bottoms out. Oh yeah. Right now, that's done. Okay, that's all the bench assembly we have to do for the upper A-arms. Now let's get the lowers. These babies are heavy. Okay, I'm doing the assembly on the large A-arms, which are the lowers, and on this side it gets, instead of that fancy aluminum T-washer, it just gets a regular washer, and this one sits inside of here and gets a nut. And then on the other side, this one gets this great big washer because it rests against this Delron bushing. So I'll put that on. Yeah. And that is most of what needs to be done. This part here, that rides right in this position right here. Looks like it kind of keeps it centered front and back. Boy, what a nice aluminum piece. Also, I assembled, this is where the spring is going to mount down here. And I just put these parts together because they were in the same bag with everything else, and I didn't want to lose them. So if I assemble it right here, then when it's on the car and I'm ready to put the spring on, I'll have everything right there. That takes care of that one. Now I'll just do the other one. And the other one is done. This shock mount needs to get drilled out. It needs to be 3/4 of an inch, and that's what the final step on this drill bit is. So it's not much wider. There's some kind of a bushing on there I'm gonna have to knock off first. There it goes. That's what I just knocked out of there. Ridetech didn't mention that thing in the instructions, but now I got a clear shot at that hole. It is 3/4 of an inch. Huh. Yeah. I don't need to drill that out. That's awesome. Okay, so this is the hardware that Ridetech supplied, and it all seems of very good quality. And I'm ready to put this lower control arm on. This was part of it too, and I haven't figured out what this is for yet, but I'm following the instructions, so I'm assuming we're gonna get to that. This is the hardware for the passenger side. So let's put this guy on. Okay. This thing is plenty heavy. Okay, it's hanging there. You see that? This fits around this machined area right here. And then these go up into those holes. And maybe it would have been smarter to do one at a time. Here we go. I'll get that washer. Yep, and the nut. Okay. It's now hanging up there on both sides. It's supposed to move fairly freely. Might have them ouch, a little too tight. Actually, kind of like that. Is that freely? I don't think that's too bad. All right, I'll do the other side and then we'll get started on the uppers. On the first side, it seemed to fit fine, but on this side, we've got interference. Right here, this little bit of the frame is sticking out here. And in fact, now that I'm looking at it from this side, I think maybe there actually was some interference over there. So that might have been why it wasn't moving as freely as it should. So I'm going to take that side back off again, and I'm going to grind it like I'm going to grind this side now. I think I got it. Let's have a quick look. Oh yeah. Well, maybe a little more. I'm going to give that a little time to cool off before I... Oh, that Delron bushing's a long ways away from there. No, I'm still going to let it cool off. This part of the steering assembly gets reused from the factory components. I've got that threaded end taped off. It's going in the blasting cabinet. Off to paint. Okay, next I'm going to be putting the front shocks in. So the mounts on the lower A-arms, it goes right into there. And then to get the top in that hole that I was supposed to drill out to 3/4 of an inch, but mine was already 3/4 of an inch, that goes on this end. So you've got to use, there's a very small Torx screw on this cap. That's the adjustment. Then I have this nut off, and then this aluminum part here, which has that nice concave shape to it, and then this bushing here, which will allow this to pivot as it needs to as the suspension travels up and down. Now, when I did this, you got to be careful, because by taking that nut off of there, all of this can slide up. And I was hanging onto the spring, and yeah, all that stuff slid off the top, so it wasn't very funny, but that's the way it went. So be careful and hang on to it just by the very bottom. Can't hang on here or to the spring. All right, now I'm going to feed it through that hole and get it bolted on. Nice. Okay, so I've got these pieces here. This is what's going to grab the shock. Get it oriented right. Okay, so I got a nut and a washer, and then a spacer. Let me see if I can get you in here closer. I'm going to put both of these on like that. Boy, isn't that neat? It's a spherical mount there. All right, and then yes, right in between there. Now I can slide that through. Okay, that was pretty easy. Now if I can, there's that washer. And the washer and the nut. There we go. All right, we'll get that tightened down. There we go. Okay. The Corvette could support some weight now. That's awesome. I'll do the other side. The Ridetech upper A-arm has this nifty aluminum slug here. And depending on which way you put it in here, it can be back here or it can be forward. They both have to go the same way. That adjusts your caster on it. So I've got mine adjusted back so that I've got more caster than less. That's supposed to be better. They sell different ones of these if you're really into off-road racing. I don't mean dirt either. With different amounts of offset that you can get, but these are the ones that they sent me. Now the other thing is this shaft right here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's offset. So you can put it on this way. This is what's recommended for street driving. So it'll go over top of that and then it'll pull this way. But the other way to go to get more offset, so you'd have more camber, the wheel would be tilted in at the top of the car more. You would rotate this around 180 degrees. So it's some very neat adjustability that they've designed into their A-arms here. Now the other thing they mention in their instructions is to reuse the factory hardware. I don't think so. So I had to make a trip to the hardware store and bought some new hardware, and I got the elastic nuts too. That is a 7/16 14 thread, and it's an 1.5 inch bolt if you want to get yourself some too. And I also bought a washer. All right, now I got to try to maneuver this thing in through here. Boy, I just can't believe how close that is. It just looks terrible. It's rubbing on stuff. What the hell? Ow. Am I doing it wrong? Boy, that don't look right. Rubs off their decal. So I sure don't like the fit of that. I'm gonna tighten this down and see if it fits better once it gets into its full position. My gosh. Oh, nice. Doesn't seem right. That really rubs like shit right there. God damn it. It didn't say anything about trimming this. And I got my arrow pointing forward, so it's not like I've got the left one on here. This might be worth a phone call. I'm gonna put the other one on, see if it's the same way. All right, next is the spindle. Very nice piece of kit here. Look at this, beautifully machined. Oh my gosh, maybe I should have painted it. Not gonna happen. All right, so this goes on, big nut, and this gets tightened to 65 foot-pounds. That looks good. Alright, while we're here, let's put the upper one on. Oh, God, I hate that fit. Alright. Okay, and 50 foot-pounds for the upper one. Come on, there we go. There it is, 55, and then, yep, cotter keys lined up there. All right, put a couple cotter pins in and do the other side. Boy, it's starting to look like a suspension here. Cool. Here's some beautiful parts. This is nicely black anodized aluminum, super light. This is what the steering is going to connect to. So there's some interesting hardware here. They've got these bolts or nuts. I've never seen a nut like this before, but this goes right in here and here, which is kind of cool. And then there's this part here, which is the stop. It's got a plate on it that comes around and must hit something. Here we go. This is the other one. There, left and right. This one, there, it steps right over that, so that's good. And this goes here, like that, and then, so that's really gonna limit that. All right, and then this goes in there, and this goes up here. Okay. That looks like it. Okay, I'm putting some Loctite on these threads. Torquing to 75 foot-pounds. There it is. 75 foot-pounds. We'll get this guy. There it is. 75 foot-pounds. All right. Now we got to stop right there. That's as far as she turns. That way we get that on. All right, now I'll do the other side. Okay, next I have this very nice machined tie rod stud, and it's got a tapered section on it. That's gonna go right up in here. And then it didn't call for this, but I have a washer. I'm gonna put that down in there because this steel nut is gonna tighten down on this aluminum part right here, and I'd rather that load be spread out a little bit more than just this friction of this nut going around there, because it's got a cotter pin. All right, let's see how it goes. There it is, 35 foot-pounds, and looks like we're actually lined up pretty good for the cotter pin. Let's see if it goes through. There we go. All right. All right, that's one. Now I'll go to the other side and get that one. Okay, this is the original equipment drag link, which I have cleaned up and painted, so of course it looks like brand new. This gets a washer. This washer? That's a pretty lame washer, isn't it? How's this washer? That's a more better washer. I'm going to use that washer. And a castle nut, and that gets screwed on. But not tightened yet. So there's one, and then here's the other one. This has a tapered shaft on it, so this goes in to this other end here. I'm just going to give it a tap like that. That helps it stay in place. And then nice washer. Do I have another one of those? Maybe. Let's see. Is that better than that one? Yeah, that is a better washer. Boy, nice tight fit. Okay, going this way. All right, and it says don't tighten those yet. Okay, so that's done. All right, I got those two on. Now, two of these large washers go on here, and then the drag link goes on. What is this called? The drag link adapter. Goes on right there. And then another washer. That's a big washer. Like that. And then, seems like that ought to have a castle nut, but it doesn't. Okay, then these go on. Okay, so that's all together. Tighten the castle nuts. Okay, so now I'm tightening the castle nuts on this side to 35 foot-pounds. Get the torque wrench out here. Hopefully they don't spin in their tapered holes. There it is. Make sure. There we go. Okay. Okay, then we'll get this other one here. There it is. All right, let's. All right, and this side gets tightened to 50 foot-pounds. There it is. There we go, 50 foot-pounds. All right, now tie off these cotter pins. Okay, so I've threaded the lock nuts onto both of these parts, and the one of them is actually a left-handed thread. And now I'll put these together. Let's see if we got this on the right end. 50-50-90 rule. Okay. All right, now she goes on. Until it's 15 inches long. It needs to go in a little more. Okay, I'm past my... I had pieces of tape on here for the minimum of 15/16 of an inch engagement that it called for. So now I know I'm past that amount, so I can safely go to my 15 inches from here. Let's see how that did. A little more. Okay. That gets us in the ballpark. Now I'm just gonna finger tighten these lock nuts down so it doesn't move around while I finish the rest of the assembly. I'll do the other side. All right, we're ready to put what they're calling the drag link on. I'm gonna point it up, which is a 50-50-90 rule in effect there. Of course, I gotta drop the hardware. All right. Now, which way does the bevel go? Looks pretty even. Here we go. Okay, that's going to get tightened to 100 foot-pounds there. I'm going to hook up the other side first. Okay, I can get this nut on, although I wish I had a good washer on it. Now we tighten this to 100 foot-pounds. There it is. Whew! I'll do the other side. Okay, now I'm reinstalling the factory pitman arm on the Borgson steering box. Okay. And I'll tighten that down to 1,000 foot-pounds. Well, I have the majority of the front suspension done. I've got my pitman arm on and tightened down, and there's also an idler on the other side. That's down. I don't have the cotter pins in those yet because I haven't torqued them yet. I still need to install their front sway bar, which they call a muscle bar. I'll handle that the next time I do a video, and then we're gonna be starting on the Willwood braking systems. Like I said before, the rear is done. I showed those pictures, and now we're going to tackle the front. That also includes the front hubs too that are going to get put on. So those are really neat looking too. So a lot of cool things coming here. We're getting closer and closer on this project. So thanks for watching. There'll be another video out next Monday, so be watching for that. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, then you won't miss an episode of me getting this Corvette on the ground and maybe even driving it.